Will everyone please reconvene, come back into the room unless you're having a conversation. If you're having a conversation, please take it outside the room. And then when you're done, come back in and we will debate and vote. The next item of business is Resolution C. It is called Advance Voting Rights. The 2017-2018 National Action Program Resolution for Voting Rights. Actually, I'm going to do this. That's what's so difficult. Okay. Whereas, following the Supreme Court's ruling in Shelby County v. Holder in 2013, extremist right-wing legislators in many states rushed to enact voting restrictions that intentionally disenfranchise millions of people. And while I'm talking, I'm going to ask Emily Imhoff or someone needs to be at the typist table. So if we can get that staffed, I'll be reading this. We don't need anyone typing yet, but it will be a couple of minutes. Whereas right-wing lawmakers have systematically removed voting resources from low-income and minority communities, including shutting down voting sites, refusing to update voting machines, and failing to adequately train polling volunteers, and whereas unconstitutional racial gerrymandering across states such as North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and Virginia have diluted the impact of the Black and Latino vote, creating a supermajority for white conservative legislators in those states. And whereas felon disenfranchisement, a longtime voter suppression tactic, has suppressed the African American vote dramatically in the state of Florida. 1 in 4 African Americans in Florida cannot vote due to felon disenfranchisement. And whereas voter ID laws that place undue financial burden on the elderly, immigrant populations. Okay, and so if we want to have conversations, I will ask you to just step outside the ballroom, finish up your conversation, and then come back in, please. Immigrant populations and lower income persons have increased exponentially over the past 2 years. And whereas curbs too early and absentee voting dramatically undermine the voting power of women, and African American women in particular, who make up 36% of early voters, and whereas Election Day is not a federal holiday, with the result that many people, particularly hourly waged workers who are disproportionately women of color, are unable to take the day off to vote. And whereas the Trump administration and Republican leaders in Congress have created a false narrative around virtually non-existent voter fraud to justify voter suppression, and whereas women are overwhelmingly underrepresented in political offices across the board, and those numbers are even lower for women of color, and whereas having feminist women in political office promotes the introduction of legislation that bolsters the rights of women and families, therefore be it resolved that the National Organization for Women, NOW's 2017 to 2018 National Action Program will include an Advance Voting Rights campaign to stop voter suppression schemes at the local, state, judicial, and national levels, increase awareness about the disproportionate impact of voter suppression on women, and especially women of color, low-income persons, seniors, and younger people, and pass the Voting Rights Advancement Act to stop gerrymandering intended to discriminate against communities of color and women voters, voter purging, and disenfranchisement, and be it further resolved that now we'll work with our allies and coalition partners in support of state-level legislative, electoral, and litigation strategies to combat instances of voter suppression, especially in states such as North Carolina, Texas, Florida, Virginia, Michigan, Georgia, and Alabama, and be it finally resolved that now we'll work with Now PAC and its allies to elect feminist candidates, especially women and other marginalized people, to local, state, judicial, and federal office, and to educate voters about the high stakes for women in local, state, judicial, and federal elections in 2017 and 2018. So that is Resolution C. What's in order is discussion of the resolved clauses of this resolution. Resolved clauses first. So do we have discussion? Yes, on mic 3. Hi, Bear. Tell us who you are and what state you're from.
Good morning. Bear Atwood, Mississippi, and I have a motion.
Oh my goodness, that was a yellow card, but that's okay. It's good. Yes, you have a motion to amend. So I stand at the mic, Mary, and what will be...
Okay.
No, I'm not calling on you yet. I'm asking you to stand at the line. Bear Atwood has the floor. She's at mic 3. She has a proposed amendment. So she's going to make her proposed amendment, and then what will be in order is discussion of the amendment. And after we are finished discussing and voting on the amendment, then we will come back to the resolution as a whole. So if you have discussion on that, hold on, but let's do the amendment first. So the proposed amendment is, on Resolution C, in the second be it resolved, after the word suppression, add the words including partisan suppression. So second be it resolved, after the word suppression, comma, including partisan suppression, comma, especially in states. Ray, did you get that? Yeah. Got it. Okay. So you see it. Is there a second? Thank you. I saw she raised her hand. Yes. There's someone in the audience. Thank you. So it's been seconded. Moved and seconded to add the words including partisan suppression in the second resolve. What's in order now is discussion of the proposed amendment. Bear, would you like to explain why you think it should be amended?
Sure. I'm the chair of the board committee that brought this resolution, and in our discussion at the board on it, we ran out of time, as we all know can happen, but one of the issues that came up was that in the current world of partisan suppression, a great deal of that partisan suppression is trying to weed out particularly women Democrats who are unmarried, which is one of the big voting blocks that they're trying to weed out. And so we thought it was really important to add the concept of partisan suppression to the resolution.
Understood. Thank you so much. And thank you for your service as chair of this board committee that has developed this resolution over the past year. Is there discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of this amendment, please raise your voting cards. Okay, and cards down, all opposed. All right. The opposition does not have it, the affirmative has it, and this proposed amendment has been passed. Okay. Now, what's in order is discussion of Resolution C. Mary, do you have a proposed amendment, or do you have discussion?
I have a point of privilege.
Oh my! All right.
Okay, on this, is that right? Sounds good. Okay, anyone from Florida has a right to sign this petition to get the restoration of rights thing. So anybody that wants to raise their hand, I'll come by and give you a thing. That's my point of privilege.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. I'm going to call that a whatever. And and thank you for having that available for all of us. All right, and by the way, speaking of red cards, David Stewart, are you in the room? David, David has reserved a cab to go to the airport. Would love to have people ride with him if you want to. What time is your cab? 2:30. So if you want to ride to the airport leaving here at about 2:30, go see David, stand up and wave. And yes, okay, thank you. All right, yay. Yes, the royal wave. Okay, So we have the amendment is done. Is there further discussion on Resolution C? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the resolution. All those in favor of Resolution C, sorry. Wait. If there is discussion, I should have said it this way. If there is discussion on Resolution C, please go to a mic and tell the mic monitor what it is you want to do. Do you want to debate? Do you want to make a motion to amend? Or are you freezing and need a point of personal privilege?
Clarification. Clarification? Okay. So that is, request for information. Okay.
Got it. Okay, good. All right.
We have a request for information.
Yes, it's a request for information. Excellent. Yes. What is your request?
I'm Haya Ross from Albuquerque. In the third whereas, it says unconstitutional racial gerrymandering across states, such as North Carolina, et cetera. Does that mean that there are districts that cross state lines?
It does not. The word across there is used in the common usage that it is today, meaning in several states.
Okay. Does anybody think that should be clarified? Or am I the only one who needs to understand that?
So you're no longer on personal privilege. That was a request for information, and I gave the information, and so the question whether somebody wants to change something is quite different from I have a motion to amend. So we'll just leave it there. Okay, so any other discussion on Resolution C? If there is, please stand up and walk to a mic. Seeing none?
Can we have a call for our mic monitors?
Sorry?
Can we have a call for our mic monitors and runners?
Yes, some of them are actually interns who are leaving. Oh, I think we see some coming in. Yeah, Emily is actually hunting them down. And once she captures them, they will be brought in a basket, and we'll be, yeah. So, but that is on the way. Thank you, Sergeant. Audrey Muck is the chair of our Rules Committee, and the other members of our Rules Committee are Cindy Drawbeck and and Sanoon Hem. So so you all are doing incredible work. Thank you so much. All right, I believe we are now ready to vote on Resolution C. All those in favor of the resolution as amended, please raise your voting cards. And down. All opposed, raise your voting cards, and the resolution passes as amended. Thank you. Now, I believe we have, it's actually is it a red, it might be a red card anyway. This is a motion by Alice Cohan. And if you would like to explain your motion, and then I will talk about what needs to happen. Okay.
Hi, I'm Alice Cohan from Alexandria, Virginia. I had risen earlier and time was called. I'd like to reopen the discussion on the Resolution A on the Equal Rights Amendment for the purpose of adding an important resolved that is missing in this resolution but is in several others.
Second.
Wonderful. So so here's how this works. On a motion to reconsider, Alice voted in favor of this resolution, so she may bring a motion. She may bring a motion to reconsider. The body will need to decide: shall we reopen Resolution A and consider it? If we do, all of the amendments that have been done on Resolution A remain in place. However, they could be changed, but any amendment that we did remains in place until someone stands up and says, I have another amendment that I would like to put in. What Alice would like to do on reconsideration is add a final resolved clause that would read as follows. And Ray, if you would please type it in. Be it finally resolved.
First one.
Resolution A. All right, we're going to pull it up. Well, I will be reading it out, and then I'll read it a second time so Ray can type it in. So that it would be it finally resolved that now urges NowPAC. Be it finally resolved that now urges NowPAC to recruit, endorse, and work to elect progressive feminist candidates, especially women of color, who will make it a top priority to address the ratification of the ERA. Moved by Alice, seconded by Gordy, and while Ray is getting to where she can type it in, the thing is frozen. It'll work in a second, but I think we can certainly talk about it. Alice, if you would like to address it first, or would you like to close debate?
First.
All right, and then Gordy, I will call on you. Alice.
I stand because I think that we have got to acknowledge that we are sick and tired of begging for our rights, and that we cannot continue to year in and year out go back and beg those legislators in the state legislatures and in Congress to vote for equality. Instead, we have to put extra efforts into recruiting, supporting, and working for feminist candidates to take over those seats and vote for us, for all of us and all of the issues we care about. And I think it's critical that that be a part of our support for the Equal Rights Amendment. And that's why I stand to ask your support.
Thank you, Alice. All right, so Gordy, I'm not going to call on you yet. Debate on the. Yeah? Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right. Alice, thank you very much for your explanation of why you wish to reconsider. The first thing we have to vote on is shall we open Resolution A for reconsideration? You've heard why Alice thinks we should. All those in favor, please raise your voting cards. All right, and lower your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. It only requires a majority vote, and the affirmative has it, so we will reconsider. So Ray, you are typing the proposed finally resolved clause. Gordy, you would like to speak in favor of it?
Yes. Gordy Gustafson, Minnesota Now. I was the one that cut off debate, and I profusely apologize to my sister because I truly think her amendment should be included in the ERA resolution, because without having enough voices that will truly advocate for women in the state legislatures, it is going to be much harder to pass. So at the end of the day, this is necessary to passage of the ERA. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordy. Is there further discussion on the proposed amendment? If there's further discussion on the proposed amendment, please go to a mic. I'm not seeing anybody at the mics. Then, yes, you have discussion on the amendment?
Actually, I want to propose amending the amendment, the proposed
That is discussion on the amendment. It's a yellow card. It's a proposed amendment to the amendment. Well, but you need to write it down, and you need to give it to the typist, and one version to me, one to the typist, and keep one for yourself.
While she's doing that, I figured I would fill some time, so I want to speak against the amendment. This is already something that the Now PAC is doing, and I didn't see any reason to revisit this. It's redundant.
Thank you for your observation and your argument. Would you take the whites to the typist, please? Whose name is Ray. Thank you. All right. Oh.
I would like to propose adding, my name is Lisa Siegel from Montgomery County, Maryland. My name is Lisa Siegel from Montgomery County, Maryland now. I would like to propose adding after the words Now PAC in the amendment to add Now PAC and state and local Now PACs.
Good. Okay, we have that for a moment, and I'm going to put that on hold, and I'm going to not ask for any second, so even if you say second, it won't matter. Because I have a red card for Linda Berg, who is our political director. Is Linda Berg here? Linda, because what Dorothy Demers, and by the way, Dorothy Demers is our amazing parliamentarian. She is a member of Florida Now. She is incredible. And in response to Meredith's observation, it strikes me that if Now PAC currently recruits, endorses, and works to elect those who make it a top priority to address ratification of the ERA, is it the case that is currently Now PAC's policy?
That is currently Now PAC's policy, and it's currently the policy for the state and local PACs. I can understand, though, if we have an action program and you want a statement of what the whole action program is, it could be considered a vital component, but we are doing it anyway.
Thank you, Linda. Very, very good. It is in order, so it will remain in order. Meredith, of course, you can still speak against it if you wish, but I'm going to rule it in order. So, Lisa, right? Yes. Okay. So now we have a proposed amendment to the amendment. Ray, did you find that and did you type it in? Sorry. Thank you. So what it would say is NowPAC and state and local NowPACs. NowPAC and A-N-D. Yes, right there. And state and local NowPACs. And please highlight the words "and state and local NowPACs" because that is an amendment to the amendment, which we will vote on first. Okay? And state and local NowPACs, right? That is the proposed amendment. Is there discussion on the proposed amendment to the amendment?
Just wanted to point out that it might be the state and local NowPACs that would be supporting the state legislators, so this would be important to add in.
Excellent, thank you. Is there further discussion on the amendment, proposed amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, and remember, if you wish to discuss, you must walk up to the mic. If you wish to make a motion to amend, please write it down first, so it will go a little bit faster. All right, seeing no discussion on the amendment to the amendment, all those in favor, please raise your voting cards. And all those opposed, lower your cards. I mean, all those opposed, don't vote. We want this thing in. Yes, all opposed to the amendment, please raise your cards if you're opposed. Got it, okay. Well, the affirmative has it, and the amendment is now part of Alice's proposed amendment. Is there further discussion of Alice's proposed amendment? Yes. Yeah, as
Just-
amended.
Oh,
So, go ahead, yeah.
Jan Strout, Montana Now. Just briefly, the purpose of our resolutions, besides documenting and creating action plans, is really the education and empowerment of our membership and ways of working with allies. The way more specific we can be in these action plans, in the resolve clauses, which I support very strongly, all of them having electoral components. But this particular electoral component makes it clear, not redundant, as part of the education and empowerment of our membership. So I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. All right. So seeing no other people walking to the mic to discuss, we are ready to vote on the proposed amendment as amended. All in favor, please raise your voting cards. All right, lower your cards. All opposed, raise your cards. And the affirmative has it. And Alice, your amendment has been accepted. Thank you so much. Here you go. That's for that. Oh, and here's the amendment to the amendment. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. All right. And now what's in order is we need any further discussion on Resolution A? Say no. Thank you. All right. All in favor of Resolution A as amended and amended and amended? Yes. All raise your cards. All right. And lower your cards. All opposed to Resolution A as amended? Seeing none, thank you so much. The affirmative has it, and Resolution A has been readopted. All right, and we did voting rights. Okay, next up is Resolution D. Protect Immigrant Rights, 2017-2018 National Action Resolution. As this has already been read aloud, without objection, we will go immediately to discussion of this resolution. I'm not hearing any objection, so let's go immediately to discussion. The first thing is up is I have a motion to amend Resolution D. Oh, wait. First, we're only discussing resolved clauses, so I see there's a motion to amend a whereas. We're not going to do that yet. Is there any discussion of the resolved clauses of Resolution D? Discussion of resolves.
Yes.
This is not a this is a discussion of a whereas. I'm looking for discussion of resolves.
No, I'm sorry, it's the same wording in the resolution and the whereas that I'm addressing.
Oh, so you do have a resolved. Okay.
Right.
All right. Yes. Well, then please What is, so Ray, do you have the copy of this proposed amendment to the first resolve clause? See where it says first resolution, same as above? Yeah. So in the first resolved clause, you would like to strike Muslim ban. Thank you for phrasing it that way. That's excellent. Strike the word Muslim. Where is the word Muslim? Strike the word Muslim ban and insert travel ban targeted at Muslim majority nations. So that is the proposed amendment. And it's been seconded. Let's let Ray get it up there on the screen. There you go.
By making that motion in the resolution, if it's accepted, then the whereas, the fourth
Will
whereas
change.
would need to change.
Yes, yeah, that's
Um,
okay. So
I'm
just 2 seconds. We're going to get that in there. So you strike the word Muslim ban, Ray. Okay. All right. And insert travel ban targeted at Muslim majority nations. Targeted at Muslim majority nations. All right. And would you like to speak in favor of him? Please tell us your name again and what state you're from.
Sharon Gray, Fort Myers, Florida.
Thank you, Sharon.
The way the wording was is a Muslim ban, even though I know generically people talk about this as a Muslim ban. If that were the case, then people from Jakarta, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, all those people would be banned, and they're not. It is a travel ban specifically for certain nations, of which have a predominantly majority Muslim population.
Thank you very much. So what is in order is discussion of the proposed amendment to this first resolved clause. And discussion on Mike 3. Gordy.
I rise in opposition to this amendment. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to use, I do not want this organization to use the language of the Trump administration when what they put on their Muslim ban. It is a Muslim ban because Trump said it was a Muslim ban during the campaign, and so I want to keep the language of what it is as opposed to the shell game that the radical right keeps using. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I see people lining up at mic 1. Yes, Lisa, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, Lisa Labby, Florida now. I have to speak against this amendment. Apologize, Gordy, if this is what you just said, but I was talking when I didn't hear. This resolution is about immigrants and not about traveling to those countries. Was that what Gordy said? No? Okay. That was more about traveling into the country and which immigrants instead of traveling out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there discussion, further discussion? I don't see a colored card, and I need to know whether there is discussion or a motion to amend or a motion or what. I got a green card. Hi, Shirley. Tell us who
Hi.
you are and...
Shirley, Joni's wife.
Yes.
Okay, West Palm Beach, Palm Beach County now. I just want to say it should say some Muslim majority nations, because that's an amendment to this amendment. Sorry, an amendment to this amendment. It's some majority Muslim nations.
So if you wish to
Some
make an
Muslim-
amendment, you wouldn't have had a green card. It would have been a yellow card. I know, that's so obnoxious. So if you would like, you can write out your proposed amendment to the amendment and then come back and present it. I'm sorry to be a pain, but I think it will go faster if we do it this way to begin with. Is there further discussion? Okay.
Would I be able to change my motion? Or
Unfortunately, it belongs to the floor now. It's been moved and seconded. So we can't do that. Is there further discussion? Shirley, come back. I thought Mona Lisa was standing up to discuss. Okay. Sorry, my dear. Okay. So your motion to amend the proposed amendment is, we'll just do it easier.
Just add the word some Muslim majority nations, because it's very arbitrary. I
Yes.
mean,
So can you, Ray, would you please type the word some in front of the word Muslim and highlight it to make it clear that that is an amendment, a proposed amendment to the amendment? Thank you, Shirley. All right. Is there discussion of the proposed, is there a second of Shirley's amendment? Okay. Is there discussion on the proposed amendment to the amendment? All right, seeing none, we will vote on just the proposed addition of the word some. If you like the word some, please raise your voting cards. Let me correct that. If you like the word some in this particular sentence, raise your voting cards. If you like the word some but don't want it in there, raise your voting cards. If you don't like the word some at all, you're just out of luck. We're not going to deal with you. Okay, the word some has been successfully entered. What is in order is discussion of the proposed amendment as amended, right? Is there further discussion of the proposed amendment as amended? All right, all those in favor of the proposed amendment, please raise your voting cards. All opposed, please raise your voting cards. I think it failed. Yes, the amendment does fail. Thank you for bringing it up, and thank you all. Okay. All right, so what is in order is further discussion of Resolution D. I believe there is a proposed motion to amend. We're still on resolves. We're still on resolves. Any motion are you on a resolved clause? Yay,
Yes, I
okay.
am.
And can you bring it to me in writing? I'll take the yellow. Ray needs the white. Thanks. All right. You did it twice, Mona Lisa. I know, I got it. It's good. It's good. It's fine. Okay. All right. Here we go. So
early.
tell us who you are and what state you're from.
Mona Lisa from California.
Yay.
I have an edit to the be it further resolved, the first be it further resolved. In
Ray, if
addition
you'll
to
be
the
typing that, please,
wonderful
as we're
Restaurant Opportunities Center United, I would like to also add one other organization to cover the domestic workers program. And so I wrote that out. It's to add and hand in hand the Domestic Employers Network Sanctuary Homes. In the second, be it further resolved.
Got
We're
it.
just naming two of our partners in accomplishing the sanctuary movement.
That's a future one, right? Okay, this summer. All right, so Ray, are you typing that in? So we're looking at the second resolved clause after the words Rock United. Shh, 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 shh. After the words Rock United, insert as follows, and second resolved, yeah, and hand in hand, comma, the Domestic Employers Network Sanctuary Homes. There you go. Okay. So that is the proposed amendment. And Mona Lisa, you've already spoken in favor of the amendment, I believe? Yes.
Yes, it's the equivalent program for domestic workers that work in homes.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Is there discussion on the proposed resolution to add the words and hand in hand the Domestic Employers Network Sanctuary Homes?
It's capital H.
Yeah, we'll get that. Yeah. It's hand in hand is the name of the organization. So those H's should be capitalized. All right. So, okay. Is there discussion on Mona Lisa's proposed amendment? If you have discussion, please approach the mic. All right, so you guys are not discussing any of that. Okay, good, so let's vote. Everyone in favor of adding this language to the second resolved clause, please raise your voting cards. All opposed? Raise your cards. Great, thank you, Mona Lisa. This is accepted. So this passes. And what is now in order is further discussion of resolved clauses. Sure, Joan, are you talking about a resolved clause?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful.
It's
Okay, we
actually
have
in a resolved and a whereas.
a proposed amendment. See, that is the last. I have
It's
I have
the
an
second
amendment.
resolved.
The second resolved. Okay. In the second resolved, what would you like to
So-
do?
In the second resolved, but also found in the next to the last whereas.
I see.
And I would like to propose to, instead of in this next to the last resolved, I would like to say sanctuary or welcoming restaurants, homes, school districts. and for the same language in the next to the last whereas, sanctuary or welcoming cities, counties, states. This is the reason why.
So Ray, would you be typing that, please? Before you discuss, we need to know if there's a
sanctuary or welcoming.
Or welcoming.
The reason is that...
Wait, we need a second.
Sure.
All right, think you go. Sorry, but you do.
The reason is that we're happy that that West Palm Beach and the Palm Beach County School Board have already passed declarations that they are welcoming city and a welcoming school board, but they do not use the word sanctuary in order not to be targeted for sanctions. The actions that they are taking are the same as what was described by the makers of the resolution. May I also just take a moment to say that I am so grateful that the makers of the resolution have made it and that now is pushing this forward. It's so important. It's brilliant and it took a lot of work.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joan. So the proposed amendment is in the second resolved clause to add the words or welcoming after the word sanctuary. And then if that passes, it would automatically go into the whereas clause as well. So do we have discussion on adding the words or welcoming? Any discussion to add the words or welcoming? I'm assuming, Linda, yeah, good, okay. So all in favor of adding the words or welcoming, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. All right, and this amendment also passes. All right. Now, is there further discussion on any resolved clauses? Linda, you have a resolved clause?
I'm seeking to put quotes at Muslim ban to show our lack of regard for the administration's terminology. With this system, it's not possible to have inserted that when we were at the term Muslim ban.
Oh.
I had to wait in line to get up here.
Yeah, you did. What do you think, Dorothy? She wants to put quotes around the words Muslim
It's still
ban.
in there. No, it's right there. Just look over your shoulder. It was reworded in a different way. Anyway, Muslim ban, I think, appears more than once. I'd like to see it in quotes.
So this is a proposed amendment to the, hold on, I'm going to find it, to the second resolved. The first resolved. There it is, to the first resolved. Yes, thank you. It's a proposed amendment to the first resolved to add quotes around the words Muslim ban.
And wherever else it appears.
All right, so sorry? I heard it seconded, yeah. So and then automatically into the fourth whereas. So, okay, so what's in order is discussion of adding quotes around the words Muslim ban. Is there discussion on that proposed amendment? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your voting cards. And lower them, and all opposed. All right, and so the quotes are there. Thank you, Linda. Now, what's in order is further discussion of the resolved clauses. Do we have any more discussion of any resolved clauses? No? We got whereases. Okay, Lisa, you have a whereas. Is that the one that I have here? It says remove whereas now affirms. So whose is that?
Right here.
Mine.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ethel, go. Please tell us who you are and where you're from.
Ethel Guttenberg, Cincinnati now. I'd like to remove the whereas, the second one. Whereas now affirms the human rights of asylum and movement as recognized in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We don't know what's in that declaration.
Wait, sorry. Before you advocate for it, I need to know whether it's been seconded. Okay. All right. So it's been seconded, and can you speak in favor? Ray, are you typing it in, please? Okay. You know what to type? Okay, great. So Ethel, while she's typing it, would you please explain why you would like to do that?
This reads as an affirmation of a UN declaration which we as now, and it is not necessarily having anything to do with the United States immigration rights. There are many things in the in UN declarations that we have no idea what they are. And there are many countries who signed on to this declaration who have horrendous records of human rights and nothing to do with immigration rights in the United States. I think it's a mistake to affirm what the UN is doing when we really have no idea what is in that declaration.
All right, thank you. Is there further discussion on the motion to remove the second whereas clause? Yes, I see discussion. Yes, Jan.
Hi, Jan Strout, Montana Now. I don't disagree with the speaker's concern about the particular idea of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but quite frankly, those rights are what we all should be ascribing to and trying to actually have in our own country. These are economic, social, human, and civil rights. And that is at the basis of the Cities for CEDAW and the UN Convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination. And I think it would be very short-sighted, if you will, to strike this, because regardless of how well individual countries do, and we don't meet our own human rights very well in many cases, we must have those as what we are ascribing to and what we must achieve. And holding those above us to work toward is in the benefit of every single person that we are trying to protect and empower in every single resolution and aspect of our work. So I please urge you to defeat this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. I have further discussion on mic 3, and then I'll come to mic 1. Yes.
Hi, Brandy Goyette, Pasco County Now. We do know what the UN has in their human rights campaign. It is posted. We are affirming NOW's dedication to human rights, and I do not believe that this amendment should be added because we do stand with the basic human rights and asylum that the United Nations also advocates for.
Thank you. Mic 1.
Thank you, Mona Lisa from California. I'm also on this committee. Just to be clear, the grammatical, the language here does not affirm the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, although I do believe that it is exactly consistent with all the now issues. It's simply affirming the human rights of asylum and movement, and I can't imagine that anyone in this room would not see that as directly consistent exactly with all of our issues as feminists.
Thank you, Mona Lisa. On mic 3, Geraldine.
Geraldine Stapleton, California Now. I rise in opposition to the amendment to strike this clause. I feel it's very important that we keep it in for all the before mentioned from my colleague in Montana. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. Anybody on mic 1 for discussion? Nope. Okay, mic 3.
Beverly Ledbetter, Pasco. Just so people understand what the United Nations Declaration has, there are several about freedom of movement, and Article 14 states that everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution.
And mic 3 again, Twist. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Twist Butler, Virginia Now. It's by this time it's hard to tell whether my word is oppose or I oppose the inclusion of UN sentiments or statements, kind of on a broad basis, in any now resolution. The UN is not under our control, and right now, for example, it is giving very positive consideration to taking a position that would be for decriminalization across the board of prostitution. So I think that's an example of the fact that we do not really control what is defined as a human right or not a human right, as the UN responds to the lobbying which it's receiving. I hope I've made myself at least partly clear on why I would think it just is risky to use UN language and principles as they're presently, and as we cannot predict how they may take, what course they may take. So with respect to the immigration question, I think we really do not have any control that would support our affirmation of UN statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Twiss. So she speaks in favor of the resolution. All right, of the proposed amendment. All right, are we ready to vote on the proposed amendment? Yes. All right. So all those in favor of of removing that second whereas clause, please raise your voting cards. All right. Thank you. Lower your cards. And all opposed to removing that, please raise your cards. So the opposition has it, and this particular proposed amendment has failed. But thank you for the conversation about it. Thank you for the discussion. All right, Lisa, thank you. I get the yellow. Thanks. Whoops. Okay. Yay, good. All right, now we have a proposed amendment to the fifth whereas clause. All right, Ray, you're going to have to type a lot here. Okay, so it's the fifth whereas clause, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas it's the clause that says, whereas women and girls make up 51% of undocumented immigrants and are deported at higher rates. So the motion is to strike the words are deported at higher rates, and then to insert the words, you with me? And are deported at higher rates. So that is to strike that. And insert the words, and the Women's Refugee Commission has confirmed that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is conducting raids targeting parents and other sponsors of unaccompanied migrant children. Okay. So that is the proposed amendment. And Lisa, would you like to speak to, wait a minute. It's thank you. Lisa, would you like to speak to it?
Sure. So actually, the evidence that I've looked at does not support the fact that they're deported at higher rates. Okay. Men are deported around 90% and women about 10% in terms of total numbers of deportees. So I think it's important to have statistical evidence that backs that up, and I'm happy to listen to why that was put into the statement, but the evidence that I've seen does not support that. But I did feel like it was important to show that women are affected by this, particularly by the raids that are happening now and how ICE is targeting them.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there discussion on this proposed amendment to the fifth whereas? If you have discussion, walk to the mic. Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of this proposed amendment, please raise your voting cards. All opposed, raise your cards, and the amendment passes. Thank you, Lisa. All right. Is there further discussion of Resolution D? No further discussion. Great. I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of Resolution D as amended, please raise your voting cards. And all opposed, raise your voting cards. And Resolution D passes. Thank you all so much. You know, this process absolutely improves the product. These resolutions will go on the NOW website. They will be included in NOW's issues policy manual. And this discussion really has been, I think, extremely edifying and terrific. So thank you all so much. Now what's in order is discussion of Resolution E. Resolution E has already been read out, so without objection, I will not read it again. This is the fifth and last of the resolutions for the National Action Program. So this is the ending the criminalization of trauma and sex abuse survivors. So what is in order is discussion of resolution of the resolved clauses. Discussion of the resolved clauses first of Resolution E. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, good. A resolved clause. Okay, so, and who's the maker of this? Connie, thank you. Connie, would you please, Ray will be typing it. If you would describe your amendment, and then we'll see if it gets seconded, and then we'll then you say why it's important.
Church, Virginia. It's important to me because I work for teachers.
Let's wait. First, you have to describe it, and then we have to see if it gets seconded.
All right. I have an amendment to the resolve where it talks about working with allied groups. And I have, the wording is, the campaign will work with all allies, such as Rights for Girls, authors of the Sexual Abuse to Prison pipeline that YWCA feeded earlier this year, education groups such as teachers, unions, and others to lift up, etc. And let me tell you why I'm doing this. Our teachers union is extremely concerned about the school to prison pipeline.
But you're not allowed to advocate for it until we know there's a
want to
second.
talk.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Can we get an amen?
Amen.
There you go. That's good enough. All right. Yeah.
All right. So this is important to us because we are extremely concerned. Our teachers union generally works in metropolitan areas, and what we are seeing is absolutely frightening in terms of the school to prison pipeline, especially for black girls. And so we actually are part of a larger coalition, which I hope to introduce to the new president and be able to work with you on. It's just really critical that we get this into our schools. Remember, we're the teachers. We're the ones, the teachers, the education professionals, paraprofessionals, the bus drivers, the cafeteria. We're the ones who see the results of this on children, and we've got to stop it.
Right. Thank you, Connie. I think I want to get this typed in, make sure we get it typed right, because there was just one little glitch in the thing.
I printed it on the bottom because you couldn't read my writing.
I know, it's hard. So, and so you have to word the and. So it reads, we will work with Rights for Girls and education groups. And education groups. There you go. Yes, good. Okay, thank you. Blah. Okay. All right, so what's in order is discussion of this proposed amendment. Essentially what it would do is add the phrase "and education groups such as teacher unions and others" to lift up the stories of girls and young women. And so, yeah. Thank you, Connie. All right, is there discussion of this proposed amendment? Walk to the mic. We do have discussion. Yes, Geraldine. Remember to tell us who you are and where you're from.
Geraldine, California. I have a question. What does the term allies, would that include AAUW, or does that have to be an amendment to the amendment?
No, it absolutely includes AAUW.
Oh, thank you.
So any further discussion of the proposed amendment to add the education, the language about education groups? Seeing none, all those in favor of this amendment, please raise your voting cards. And down. And all opposed, raise your cards. Thank you very much. This amendment passes. Great. And what's in order then is further discussion of any of the other resolves. Discussion of the resolved clauses of Resolution E. Any discussion? I see Joan coming to the mic. Did you? Nope. Okay. All right. So so we have no more discussion of the resolve clauses. Is there any discussion of the whereas clauses of Resolution G? Again, Joni, are you on G?
Yeah.
And you do want to amend a whereas?
Yes, and I'm sorry I didn't get it to you in time.
That's all right.
nowhere does it, oh,
So I just need to describe the proposed amendment.
yeah, yes.
We're on E, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't write it down, I'm sorry. It came up too fast. Nowhere.
No, before you tell me why you want to make the amendment, tell me what amendment
Sure.
you'd like to make.
In the second and the third whereas,
Yes.
add the following words, for trauma-related behaviors.
After which word?
In the second whereas, to push out of schools for trauma-related behaviors. In the third whereas, punish trauma-related behaviors.
Hold on. All right, Ray needs to get this on the screen. It's coming. It's on its way.
I'm sorry. Another person in the queue has written it better. I'm going to defer to her.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And do you have it in writing?
Yes.
Yes, and could I have it, please?
Legible writing with my name, yes.
Okay, so Ray, get ready. It's coming. Thank you, Alyssa. All right, so the motion is in the third whereas, including this, so not striking anything, but inserting the third whereas. Inserting after. So it would be very nice to know where would you like to make the insertion?
Okay. The third whereas, school systems that punish rather than provide appropriate services to girls and young women, right there, I would like to change the wording, who are exhibiting behaviors resulting from trauma and sexual abuse.
Okay, so Ray, you have that language? Who are exhibiting behaviors resulting from trauma and sexual abuse, and then you do want to strike something. So tell me what you would like to strike.
What I would like to strike,
Yes.
to take out who have experienced trauma and replace it with the words I just said.
Got it. Okay. Got that, Ray? Okay. Girls and young women who are exhibiting behaviors resulting from trauma and sexual abuse. Got it? Okay. Now speak in favor. Thank you. All right. Now you can speak in favor of it.
Okay. Just from my experience as both a survivor and someone who's worked with...
Into the mic so you can be heard, yeah.
I'm sorry. Through my experience as a survivor and someone who's worked with other survivors, I believe that the wording I've suggested would better serve the purpose of specifically recognizing that traumas have lasting effects that surface in a myriad of recognizable ways to those who are properly trained to identify and subsequently provide appropriate services.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very eloquent defense. So is there any discussion, any further discussion of this proposed amendment? Yes, on mic 3, please tell us who you are and what state you're from.
Yeah, I'm Ann Fonfa from Palm Beach County now in Florida. You know, I hate this part, but I really feel like it should say or, trauma or sexual abuse.
Or exhibiting behaviors. I'm not sure there might be objection. So who made the maker of the amendment, please stand. Oh, there you are. You know, I didn't ask your name. Tell me your name and where you're from. Joey Clark from Florida Now. Did you intend to have that and be an or?
That's what the title is, and.
All right, so there is objection. So, Anne, would you like to make a proposed amendment to the amendment?
I wouldn't, but I would just like to point out that not all trauma is sexual abuse, so that's my point. It should be or in there. If you want to say and or, I'm fine with that, but it should be, it's not just sexual abuse that's trauma, there's other trauma.
I have an amendment on this.
Amendment to the amendment? Does it relate to what Anne Fonfa was talking about?
Sorry, is it about the title?
No, it is
Then-
about the
excuse
word
me.
in the proposed amendment. It is about changing the word and to or. And there's no motion to do so. There might be a motion to change the word and to and/or. So there's no motion. I don't know if anyone wants to bring a motion. Michelle? what's in order is discussion of the proposed amendment, so absolutely, yes, make a comment. And tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Michelle Hamilton. I'm the chair of this particular committee. So I understand what you're saying. There's lots of trauma. Homelessness is trauma. There's institutional racism. That's also trauma. But almost everything in this particular thing relates to sexual abuse. And almost everything in the underlining foundational things that we use to create it relates to sexual abuse. So I will go with whichever way the body goes, because I could talk about trauma all day long. It's my job. But I just want to sort of draw people's attention to the fact that this is specifically about sexual abuse. And while there's other forms of trauma, and if you want to throw in a whereas where we acknowledge there's other forms of trauma, this is the form of trauma that this particular thing is about. So I go with Anne.
All right. Is there further discussion of the proposed amendment? Is there further discussion? I have green card on 3. No, I have a green card on 3. No, so yes, you need to tell the mic monitor, tell the mic monitor what it is you want to do, and then the mic monitor decides what color. So I'm not going to call on you just yet, and I am going to go back to Anne, who had a green card, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay, I apologize. But the title of this says, End the Criminalization of Trauma and Sexual Abuse Survivors. So that's changed in this situation if you don't use the word and or, because trauma and sexual abuse, 2 separate things.
Thank you, Anne. On mic 1, and you have a motion to amend?
Yes, Wendy Hickson from Brevard Now. I would like to make a motion to have an and or because that's more inclusive, and you can have one without the other. So I'd like to make a motion.
So there's a motion to amend the proposed amendment. Ray, can you put that in there and highlight it? Add / or. All right, so now what's in order is the motion to amend the amendment, adding the / or. Is there discussion of adding / no, we're not voting yet. Is there discussion of adding / or? Walk to a mic. Yes, there's discussion of or. Sharon?
Yes, I guess it's just a question. If you do the and or, does that affect the title? You do? Okay. We're hearing a title change proposal.
It would be an automatic conforming amendment. Yes. All right. So further discussion of adding / or. All right. All in favor of adding / or, please raise your voting cards. Okay, and lower your cards. All opposed, raise your cards. The affirmative has it, and the / or is included in the amendment. And well, if the overall amendment passes. So, is there further discussion of the proposed amendment as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding the words who are exhibiting behaviors resulting from trauma and or sexual abuse and striking the words that are struck through, all in favor of that amendment, please raise your voting cards. And lower them. All opposed. And this amendment passes. Now that this amendment passes, there is an automatic conforming amendment to the title. But we still have to, is there any further discussion of any of the whereases of Resolution E? Okay, no further discussion of Resolution E. Let's vote. All in favor, wait, yes? So you do have, there is proposed discussion of Resolution E. So can you, yes, that's the time. You wrote it down, thank you. Did you write it down and put what resolution it is and strike the words and insert the words?
I have Resolution E. I move to change the title to read, End the Criminalization of Sexual Abuse and Other Trauma Survivors, and the rest of it would remain the same. But the emphasis is on sexual abuse and other trauma survivors, which I think is at the heart of the resolution. I know there needs to be a second if there is one.
Thank you, Jan. Please, you want to speak in favor of it first or last?
First, and
Okay.
I think many of us are sexual abuse survivors. This is a super important and welcome resolution to address it. But I feel by putting the words trauma followed by and sexual abuse, it doesn't indicate that sexual abuse is a form of trauma. It's a huge form of trauma, including PTSD, and that there are intersecting and interrelated forms of other trauma that may or may not be experienced by a survivor. But I would like it to reflect from the title on that sexual abuse and other trauma are part of the title. Thank you.
Okay, so you've seen it up on the screen. The proposed amendment is to change the title so that it says end the criminalization of sexual abuse and other trauma survivors. Right? So is there discussion? Yes. Beth, please tell us who you are.
I will. My name is Beth Corbin. I'm a board member from the Eastern District. I'm also Executive Vice President of Maryland Now, and I am also on the task force that works on this particular issue. And I would like to speak in support of this amendment because, and I'm sorry I haven't been in the room for this entire discussion, but I can tell you that from a committee perspective, the issues that we were mostly focusing on were sexual abuse and sexual trauma. And so I think that it keeps the spirit of the entire resolution to have this in the title. So I just wanted to come forward to support this.
Thank you, Beth. Is there further discussion of this amendment to the title? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Someone is walking to the mic. Yes? Please tell us who you are.
Arthur Lundquist, NYC Now. I would just argue against a title which the right-wing press can easily abbreviate to simply "and the criminalization of sexual abuse." I know, I'm just saying that's what we know it says, but it can so easily be abbreviated to that, and, you know, the words are there.
So you're speaking against the amendment?
I'm speaking against the amendment.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion of this amendment? I do see somebody walking to the mic. Okay, Joan, discussion.
I'm wondering if the maker of this amendment would accept end the criminalization of survivors of sexual abuse and other trauma. If she did that, we're golden.
So she can't. The amendment actually belongs to the body. However, if you would like to make that motion, Joni, you don't have to write it down. All right. So Ray, would you please put in highlighted language so it's insert end the criminalization of, after the word of, insert the word survivors of, and highlight that. And then later on, strike the word survivors. So it would say, end the criminalization of survivors of sexual abuse and other trauma. All right, is there further discussion of this proposed amendment to this proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your voting cards and lower your cards. All right, and all opposed? Great, so the survivors going first passes. Now we have to vote on the amendment to the title itself. All in favor of the amendment to the title as amended? Raise your voting cards and lower them, and all opposed? All right, so the amendment to the title has passed as amended. Okay. That's it. Okay. And this also. That's Resolution E. All right, so is there further discussion of Resolution E? Are we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of Resolution E, please raise your voting cards. E as amended. And lower your cards. All opposed? And thank you very much. Resolution E has been adopted as amended. Oh, F. Okay. All right. And We now have the supreme governing body of NOW, which is the conference, has adopted the 2017 to 2018 National Action Program. Thank you all so much. So you know what now the board is required to do. The board must now implement these 5 resolutions that in total comprise the National Action Program. At the same time, in parallel fashion, the board will be designing and developing the National Action Program for 2018 to 2019. So implement what we just passed and begin developing a new action program which will be presented to the Supreme Governing Body next summer. Typically, what the board will be doing is tweaking the existing National Action Program. They might de-emphasize one thing and bring another thing up to the fore and so forth, but that's what it's going to be. It's a parallel thing. And may I say, this activist board that we have 5 committees, 1 committee for each of these resolutions. The committees have been really hardworking. They meet once a month with the Action Center staff, with the Action team. They are deeply engaged in shaping these resolutions, in shaping the kinds of products and materials that are being developed as a result of these resolutions. It's really, they're highly engaged, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because every board member is a volunteer who has a lot going on in her own community. So if we could just appreciate the board, that would be great. Now, it is 12:15, and we are going until 1:30. Aren't we going to 1:30? Is it 1 o'clock? Yeah, 1:30. And you know, I had forgotten to, well, I think we can, famous last words. There's an organization that wanted to read out a welcoming letter to us. It's the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. I wonder if I could read the welcome letter, it would take approximately 60 to 90 seconds. It's simply a welcoming letter, and I'm just wondering if I could possibly read that, and then we'll consider resolutions F, G, and H, all right? Does anyone have a copy of that letter handy? And Jan Strout has just left the room. Okay, when Jan comes back, perhaps we'll oh, Jan, yes, great. She's bringing it up. I'm sorry to just do that. I just, I remembered. I really apologize. I can read it off your phone. We'll do the next one and then after that. All right, we will consider resolution F and then come back to the welcoming letter. All right, resolution F, resolution to support efforts to prevent high-cost predatory lending. This resolution comes from the Issues Committee, which was so ably chaired by Marion Wagner and Bear Atwood. I believe, yes, yay, it was great. And I believe we may have a proposed amendment to, this would be, are we talking about amendments to the resolved clause or one or more resolved clauses? Okay, did we have an amendment or did we simply have discussion?
Discussion.
Okay, great. On mic 3, please tell us who you are and what state you're from.
Hi, my name is Ashley Harrington. I'm with DC Now, a new Now member, and I, with my colleague Yana, actually proposed this resolution. Just wanted to give you a little bit of background about it. We are with the Center for Responsible Lending. You may have seen our table outside, and we advocate against predatory lending at the federal and state level. And so this resolution is really just to show support for regulation of payday lenders. They often have triple-digit interest rates. The average is above 300%. And right now, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is considering or finalizing a proposed rule that was proposed last year. And this is just to show support for that rulemaking and encourage them to make a very strong rule that will curb these predatory practices.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And on mic 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yana Miles, coming from Washington, D.C. I'm a colleague of Ashley's, and I just wanted to speak in support of this resolution. I've actually had the pleasure of talking to many of you in this room that have been victims of payday loans and and what that did to you and your finances. It's very reflective of what's happening in our communities, women-led households, communities of color. You need just go into a particular neighborhood to see where these places are posted versus where they're not posted. And we believe that we're not asking for resources or a mobilization. We know that every organization is doing the best they can, but to even have this support be acknowledged by now at the state level and across the cities, it would be very, very influencing to members of Congress, to state legislatures, to governors. And we believe that this support is in line with the goals and ideals that are addressed with now and that have been addressed today in this conference. And we believe that what we are saying is in line with statutory precedent and what this Consumer Financial Protection is doing. Another reason it's so important is because right now we have a Congress and an administration that is extremely hostile to consumer rights, extremely hostile to wealth building and wealth protection. And we have a bureau right now that is the only government entity responsible for protecting consumers. It's the one thing standing in between us and the people that would strip our wealth and then penalize us for it. And it's very important. So we appreciate you all allowing us to be heard today, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you so much. We have discussion on mic 1.
I'm Marion Wagner, Indianapolis Now. I rise to support this motion. This is a very important issue that we discovered in the issues hearing, to our dismay, that we don't have policy on this. And so it's very important that our 2 new Now members brought this to us. So we were glad to see that the Resolutions Committee made it the first, to prioritize the first one to come out of our hearing. This is an issue that's not only, of course, this resolution is about payday lending, and that's very important. There's all sorts of other predatory fiscal situations for folks. What this does, if we pass this, it means if in Indiana there's legislation about this, we can go now and testify as now, or even in the local level. So that's why it's important for us to establish new policy in these areas, because it gives us more clout when we're speaking to our various legislative bodies. So thank you for considering this.
Thanks, Marianne. So we have, I'm going to go over here to mic 3, discussion. Geraldine.
Geraldine from California. I rise in support of this very, very important resolution. We have first of all, we have legislation pending in Sacramento in regards to predatory loans, because it's been devastating to a lot of our communities in California. So I rise in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. On mic 1, we have a proposed amendment. Sharon?
Yes, actually, Sharon Gray, Fort Myers.
And is this a proposed amendment to one of the resolved clauses?
No, that's what I'm trying to get into, a whereas.
Okay, let's make sure that we have, is there any discussion of the resolved clauses? Resolves? Yes, we do. So please come forward. We have discussion of the resolved clause.
Are we still doing general discussion?
We are on Resolution F, the resolved clauses.
Okay. The only thing that I wanted to bring up, Jennifer Cohen, Sarasota Now.
Thanks, Jennifer.
There are a couple things that are not included in this that I think have to be considered, which would be tribal lenders and collateral loans that dramatically affect women, especially women who become ill and need loans. These people are predators.
Interesting.
And it needs to be addressed. There's lots of loans in here, but I didn't see any tribal lenders or collateral loans.
Tribal lenders and collateral loans. Thank you. Still on mic 1, do we have discussion of the resolved clauses, not the whereas, the resolved?
Yes. My name is Betty Hearn. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I'm new at this, so forgive me if I'm not doing this right. But I think this is a fantastic opportunity to rein in some of the issues with payday loans, because I'm aware that there are problems. What I'm curious about is, obviously there are people who have a need for this kind of assistance. And my question is whether or not this is proposing substitutions or alternatives to payday loans. Now, I'm not sure if this is the right forum for this, but I think it's a point that needs to be addressed. To just take it away, I'm not sure is enough without changing the rules to include alternatives.
So do you speak in favor of the resolution or against
I
it?
speak in favor of the resolution with
All
any
right.
amendments that we could to make sure that we consider any alternatives that might be available to people who obviously need it.
Thank you. On information? Yes, strengthening right. Yes, right. Okay. And so let's see. Hold on to rein in. So on information, the therefore be it, the first resolved says now supports efforts by the CFPB to rein in the abusive wealth draining practices of predatory lenders, but not the good predatory. So be it further resolved that now supports adoption of strong rules to protect consumers across the country. And so I think it does, I think there's some play in the joints there, just on information. I'm not trying to, but what I understand is you're speaking in favor of the resolution, and
Yes.
so far we do not have a motion on the floor to amend any resolves. If you had a motion, you would need to write it out on the motion paper, please.
Okay.
And when you write it, you should put the resolution F, say that it relates to resolution F, state which language you wish to strike, and state which language you wish to insert. Thanks. All right. So do we have further discussion of any of the resolves? Yes, discussion of resolves. Robin, did you want to talk about resolves?
I wanted to talk about the resolution as a whole.
Come on down.
I strongly support this resolution, and North Carolina now has actually dealt with this issue extensively. The payday lenders lobby legislatures extensively, and I would like to caution everybody, it's not just specific payday lenders. Mainstream banks are getting into doing payday lending.
Yeah.
And so you might think that since somebody gets a loan from a bank, it's not on the same terms as a payday lender would offer, but it is, so watch carefully. And we got involved with it because not only women, but service people, people in the military are especially targeted by these people.
Right.
They're evil, so let's do what we can to stop them.
Thank you, Robin. Oh, and by the way, Robin Davis, tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Robin Davis, and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Thank you. Further discussion of any resolves before we get to the whereases? Do we have a resolves? You want to talk about that? Yes.
I don't know what it is exactly. First time, Deborah Birnbaum from Houston, Texas. I want to follow the awesome idea that the lady previously mentioned about what can we bring as an alternative to the system that works now. Just a thought. I thought that it would be lovely if now would start a project related to microloans like third world countries do, and maybe we can also get some support, financial support, and media coverage of a thing like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On mic one, I think we have some motions that want to be made. Is it on the resolves or on whereases?
On the resolves.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Mary Mosley, Idaho now. We're a team because I'm Sharon's eyes.
Well, we think using the word wealth in here, I'm Sharon Lockhart from Kansas, and using the word wealth throughout this sort of builds a wrong impression. It's more like it's increasing poverty or keeping people in poverty, only I don't know how we can figure out how to say that, because over half of the people in this country don't have $400 for an emergency. And they're not going to be building wealth. These people are just surviving at the very best.
So do you have a motion to amend?
We have a motion
Yes,
to
yes,
amend.
sorry.
Thank you.
The resolve clause, strike, the first resolve clause, strike the term wealth draining and replace it with poverty inducing.
Okay, so let's take them one at a time. And this is Resolution F in the first resolve clause. Ray, can you type that in? Strike wealth draining and insert poverty inducing. Inducing.
And then we'd have to change other places. Every place that it says wealth, we object to. And Sharon's a financial planner, so.
Well, and I can't come up with any decent language. She suggested increasing rather than inducing, and we talked about that.
So I would have to have a written motion to amend, my dear. I'm sorry. Let's do it one at a time. So therefore be it resolved, now supports efforts by the CFPB to rein in the abusive poverty-inducing practices of predatory lenders. That would be the proposed amendment. We're just going to do one. Is there discussion on this particular proposed amendment? Yes, there is on mic 1. And so the makers of the motion, please. I'm sorry. Was it seconded? It's seconded. Yeah. Okay. So yes, discussion on mic 1. I think it's Yana.
Hi, Yana from DC again. So I would just say about poverty inducing, just the one point I have on it is that we don't want to miss the point that the targets of predatory payday loans are already impoverished. So I have that hesitation when it comes to changing that language.
Mm-hmm. All right, is there further discussion of the proposed amendment to strike wealth draining and insert poverty inducing? Further discussion?
Or profit on poverty, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not offering an amendment right now.
Yeah. Further discussion on that proposed amendment? Somebody? Bueller?
Which one you would like to edit?
Discussion on striking wealth draining. Somebody said there was discussion, no? If you want to, do you support or oppose the proposed amendment to strike wealth draining and replace it with poverty inducing?
I want to amend the amendment.
That's a yellow card, and you can do
Okay,
that.
yellow
So
card.
step up to the mic, please, and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Kathy Crabtree from Bloomington, Indiana. Increasing, poverty increasing instead of poverty inducing.
So the proposed amendment to the amendment is to strike the word inducing. To strike this, is it seconded? It's not seconded. So.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's seconded. All right, so the proposed amendment to the amendment is to strike the word inducing. Ray, you got that? Okay, and insert.
Increasing.
Increasing.
And my do I do my
No,
rationale?
so this is a proposed amendment to the amendment, so you would want to make clear that inducing is proposed, but increasing is the amendment to the amendment. Let's put that in.
And my rationale is I support the idea, but I also support what the people have said, that they're already in poverty, the people in targeting, so that this increases their poverty.
Thank you. Is there discussion of the proposed amendment to the amendment? Let's take a look.
Just
No, so,
further
and then you want to
impoverishing
strike, just put
instead
strike.
of wealth draining.
I see, okay, well. Put it in brackets. Okay, so the proposed amendment to the amendments is to take out the word inducing and insert the word increasing. Is there discussion on that? Yes, on mic 1.
Jen Cohen, Sarasota. Now, hi. My discussion is that these payday loans cannot be received unless you have a job. And I think we're forgetting that it's not people without money getting a payday loan. It's people with jobs getting these loans. But I'm just saying, I'm not arguing with you.
Right.
Yes, you can have a job and still be in poverty. That's absolutely true. But I think we should consider that these predators are knocking the average hardworking person away from paying for their families and their houses and all of the basics that they need to survive. And we just should think about that when we're talking about poverty.
Thank you. Okay, do we have discussion on mic 3 about the word inducing versus increasing, please? Do you like inducing or do you like increasing?
Sorry, mine was going back to wealth.
That's not what's in order. What's in
Sorry,
order is inducing or increasing. right? Are we talking about any further discussion of inducing or increasing, Noreen?
There is another possibility, and that is further impoverishing. And the reason for that is that people who go for payday loans, even though they may have jobs, are already sort of poor. And so what it does is it drives them further into poverty. So that's why I say further impoverishing. And this sort of eliminates the confusion about wealth, because they're not wealthy people. They don't have wealth. And this is not maybe their first brush with poverty, but it's further impoverishing. And that should be used. And I just think it would simplify things.
So what language would you strike?
I would strike where it says, okay, where it says wealth, what is it called?
Draining.
Draining. That be struck, as well as the other suggestion, and say further impoverishing.
To rein in the abusive, further impoverishing practices.
Yes. I like that. I withdraw my amendment. And I'm just thinking from the point of view of someone who is testifying on behalf of NOW, that it was more clear, the language was more clear, that these are poor people and that it further impoverishes them.
All right. You like that?
I like that and withdraw my amendment.
You
I like
can't
your wording
withdraw.
better.
Sorry, you can't withdraw your
anyway,
amendment.
I like
It
your
belongs to-
wording.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do now, as I'm going to, as the chair of this thing, we're going to vote. We are just going to vote on. Now we have three possible phrases. One possible phrase is the one that was originally in the resolution. That phrase is wealth draining. That's one possibility. The second possibility is poverty inducing. All right? Ooh, geez, we got 4. I'm gonna allow us to have 4, but I want you to think about the fact that we have 4. So, shh. No, you don't have 5. No, ma'am. Sorry. You're not even allowed to have 3, but I let it go to 4. So that was a big mistake on my part. Sorry. So, yeah, see, the parliamentarians, yeah, it was a mistake. Yeah, no kidding. I've been telling you not to do that. So, sorry. So here are the 4 choices: wealth draining, poverty inducing, poverty increasing, further impoverishing. All right. Now, just on a straw poll, how many of you like, and you have to only vote for one. It's a straw poll. You can only vote for one. How many of you like further impoverishing? Okay, how many of you like poverty increasing? Okay, how many of you like poverty inducing? And how many of you like wealth draining? So I think what we're going to do is now formally take a vote between wealth draining and further impoverishing. So Ray, what I need you to do is, this is the thing. So the original way it was written was, therefore be it resolved, now supports efforts by the CFPB to rein in the abusive, wealth draining practices. So, abusive, further impoverishing. Okay. So the question is, if you would strike, just delete the word increasing, please. Yes. And delete the word inducing and poverty. There we go. So here we are. The proposed amendment now that we're actually going to vote on is now supports efforts by the CFPB to rein in the abusive, further impoverishing practices of predatory lenders. Now supports efforts by the CFPB to rein in the abusive, further impoverishing practices of predatory lenders. All right? All in favor of that and deleting the word wealth draining. All in favor of that to delete wealth draining, raise your cards. And this is probably going to be it on this resolve clause unless we have a real... okay, lower your cards. All opposed. So really, if you like wealth draining, this is what you should be you should be opposing this proposed amendment if you prefer wealth draining. I don't think... Okay, let's lower your cards and do it again. If you prefer further impoverishing over wealth draining, if you prefer that, I think, yeah, it's going to be kind of a close, maybe not. Okay, now if you prefer wealth draining, raise your cards. I think the first one has it. All right, so that is the way it stands. Now, okay. Actually, no. Well, so with all, I know. So what you need to do is please tell the mic monitor what it is you would like to say or do, and the mic monitor determines the color of your card. So the speaker does not determine the color of the card; only the mic monitor does. And it's red. Look at that. Great minds think alike. Okay.
Hi, my name is Camille O'Brien. I'm from California, and it's a point of information, somewhat as a sociologist. I felt like in that debate we were thinking of wealth only in terms of like monetary wealth, but wealth really includes education, access to education, access and where you live. It's not just about how much money you make. So I just wanted to remind all of us in the body to consider that when we think about wealth draining versus impoverishment. It's not just about dollars and cents.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good point. All right. This has been done. Oh, this is done. There's all that legislation to end traps. Oh, I see. Okay, hold on. This is done. Ooh, this one is signed. Yay! Add interest rate loans, tribal lending sources, and collateral. So, wait a second. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, this is all resolution F. Okay. So in Ray F. So that's F. Okay. All right. So Sharon Lockhart, you had a second proposed amendment, and that would be in the second resolved. All right. You're not Sharon Lockhart. So I do have quite a few amendments proposed, and so I was actually looking at Sharon's. So Sharon Lockhart, you have a proposed amendment, which is you did not tell us which language you'd like to strike, but you did tell us what you want to insert. So in the second resolve, Ray, are you following along? And let's, here we go. In the second resolve, you wish to, where would you like the insertion to go, please, Sharon? The words, what I'm looking at is the language to insert is interest rate loans, comma, tribal lending sources, and collateral loans. So that is requested to be inserted, but someone needs to tell me where. For lack of a second, this amendment will not be considered. All right. So another possible amendment is presented by Sharon Gray. Where's Sharon? There you are. That's a whereas. Oops, sorry. Okay, never mind. Now we have a resolved from, who is the maker of the second be it resolved to remove the words that.
I think I made a mistake. It's in the third one.
In the
Jacqueline Ron from Florida.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, so you're in your third be it resolved, 1, 2, 3.
I really wanted to remove the payday portion of it. So now supports state legislation to end predatory lenders' debt traps. So be it further resolved, now supports state legislation that ends predatory payday loan debt trap and establish an interest rate cap of 36% or less.
Yes, so what words would be...
I wanted to remove payday.
So if you can do it, say, strike the words.
Strike the words payday.
Okay. Ray, are you striking? Thank you. Because I can't see it, I have to move over here. Okay, so strike, and what else would you like to strike?
After legislation, that, and insert to, legislation to end predatory loan debt, and add an S on the end of traps. Predatory loan debt traps.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Any other striking on that particular resolve clause?
And after 36% or less, change and to protect, instead of, and just drop the S, to protect against triple-digit interest rate loans and.
Thank you. All right. So the proposed amendment to this third resolved clause is to strike the word urges. No. Who struck the word urges?
No.
Sorry? Well, fix it, because if it came out of the issue hearing, that's weird. It didn't come out that way for me. Where's the supports adoption? Supports state legislation. Okay, guys, can you just delete that, Ray? How weird. All right, so technology has gotten the best of us. So you should just. Anyway, I do apologize for how it's showing up on the screen. How it shows up in your printed copy is that blue stuff isn't there. So the proposed amendment to the third resolved clause is to such that the third resolved clause would read as follows: be it further resolved, now supports state legislation to end predatory loan debt traps, establishing an interest rate cap of 36% or less to protect against triple-digit interest rate loans. All right, so the way it would read is, let me say it one more time. Be it further resolved that now supports state legislation to end predatory loan debt traps and establishing an interest rate cap of 36% or less to protect against triple-digit interest rate loans. That's the proposed amendment. Is there discussion on that particular amendment? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on that amendment. All in favor, raise your cards. And all opposed. And thank you very much. That amendment is passed. Mike 3.
Gordy Gustafson, Minnesota Now. I call the question on all pending matters to this resolution.
All right. Is there objection to calling the question? There's objection, so calling the question will require a two-thirds vote, right? It requires a second. Well, there is a lot of applause. Okay. Yes, so it's been moved and seconded to call the question. There's been an objection to calling the question. Calling the question requires a two-thirds vote. So if you want to go ahead and vote, hold your cards up. And we need a two-thirds vote to move to the actual question. So hold your cards up if you want to move to a vote on this resolution. And lower your cards. If you're opposed to moving to a vote, raise your cards. It requires a two-thirds vote. So no, the calling the question passes. So what is in order now is voting on this resolution F as amended. All in favor of resolution F as amended, please raise your cards.
Does that shut down the whereas?
Ooh, didn't we? I thought we did.
You told me to get back up with the whereas.
I'm so sorry that the question was called. I'm sorry, Sharon.
I thought that was just applying to the resolutions.
He called the question on all pending matters related to resolution F. I am so sorry. Come and talk to me afterwards. Maybe we can work something out. Okay, so yes. So our parliamentary. Let's do this to make sure we're voting on all pending matters relating to resolution F. All in favor of the proposed resolution, proposed amendment to that third resolved clause. All in favor of that, go ahead and raise your card. I thought we voted on that, but go ahead and vote on it. Yeah, we did. Okay, so all right, and lower your cards. If you're opposed, raise your hand. You're not opposed, whatever. Okay, so now it's been all amended, and now all in favor of the resolution F as amended, please raise your cards. And lower your cards. And all opposed to Resolution F as amended, please raise your cards. And Resolution F as amended is passed. All right, before we go to Resolution G, you got a lot of stuff there. Before we move to Resolution G, we have a welcoming letter from the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Do we have it? Thank you so much. And could you go to the mic and just introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, and then I will read the welcoming letter, and thank you so much.
My name is Nouri Ranegi, and I am from Ojai, California, and member of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. So
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing this welcome letter. Let me read it out. It is dated June 2017 to the President of the National Organization for Women, Dear Terry. Congratulations to you and to all the members of NOW on the occasion of your 2017 annual conference in Orlando, Florida. Women's International League for Peace and Freedom U.S. section, WILF US, recognizes NOW as a strong sister organization dedicated to the struggle for women's rights. WILF members are attending and presenting at the NOW conference and are proud to support the theme of the conference, No Backing Down, Rising Together. We look forward to the future collaboration and rising together of our two great organizations in support of peace and women's rights. WILF US is celebrating our 33rd Triennial Congress in Chicago, July 27th through 30th. We would be delighted to have NOW members join us. All you have to do is go to wilfus.org. That's WILPFUS. That's Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, US, /33rd Congress. We share a common history of feminist activism, and our foremothers shared common ideals. Now is the time for all women to join together and demand that the humanitarian needs of the people, particularly women and children, come first before profit. Yours in solidarity and service, Mary Hanson Harrison, President, U.S. Section, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Nouri, thank you so much for bringing that. And Nouri is a brand new NOW member. Our ranks are growing daily. Gotcha. Thank you. And this, yes, on G. Okay. Wonderful. So what is in order now? And by the way, thank you for your workshop presentation, Nouri. So I hear very good things about that, and actually all the workshops. Okay. What's in order now is discussion of Resolution G. Resolution G has already been read, so without objection, it will not be reread. The title of Resolution G is Resist, Resilience, and Grit Campaign to End Violence Against Indigenous Women. What's in order is discussion of resolved clauses. So, Karen, we're not gonna come to you immediately. So is there discussion or amendments to the resolve clauses? Any amendments to the resolve clauses? Go to the mic. Okay, none. All right, now we're looking at amendments to the whereas clauses. And Karen, please identify yourself and tell us who you are.
I'm Karen Van Hooft. I'm from Arizona now. In preface, I have a very simple correction to make. So in prefacing to that, I want to explain to people where this resolution came from. Some people discovered that there is no NOW policy on Indigenous women, supporting rights of Indigenous women. And a group of activists in Arizona began working on a resolution. This included Catherine Mitchell, who used to serve on the board, but she worked with a group of Indigenous women to craft this. And then we cut it down from 2.5 pages to get it to 1 page. And and what and Gilda Yazzie also worked on it with us. She attended our state conference, and the concept of having this resolution, if not the final wording, was approved by the Arizona Now state conference this year. So this very simple change I am proposing is to the first whereas clause, which has the incorrect United Nations title there. It should be the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And it's given correctly in the resolve clause. Let's see, it's the third resolve clause, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So that's the simple correction, and I apologize for having missed it earlier when I was doing some copy editing on it. But that's it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and actually it would be a conforming amendment in the whereas to conform to what's already in the resolved. So all in favor, please raise your voting cards. All opposed? And that amendment passes. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for catching that.
Oh, and I want to thank you, Terry, for helping with the wording, the suggested wording for the resolved clauses to help us get it into being policy and not action.
Thank you. All right. Okay, we have discussion. Before we discuss the entire resolution, I'm just asking for we don't have any proposed changes to the resolves. We have the one proposed change to the whereases. Any other changes to the whereases? No? Okay, discussion on, you have a proposed amendment to a whereas?
Yes, I wanted to point out that
So Deb, tell us who you are.
I'm Deb Huber from New Jersey, and I just wanted to point out that on an earlier resolution, we said we were not going to tell chapters what to do. We were going to encourage them to do it, and that same change needs to be made here.
Thank you so much. In fact, you're right. When I read this out, I actually corrected this in the nature of a typo. So I corrected the typo. It's in 2 resolve clauses, not just 1. So Emily, if you will just do this, and this is without objection. It's not a change. Just go ahead. Yeah. Now, hello. Now encourages chapters.
It already says that. Oh, did you already make the change?
No. In the second resolved. Now encourages. Oh, you did that.
Someone did it.
Yeah. You must have done it earlier when I read it out. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's been done. Yeah, Deb, you can see on the screen it's been done. So, all right. Got it. Okay. All right. All right. Well, so is there any other discussion of Resolution G? Any further discussion of Resolution G? Right. Seeing none, all in favor of Resolution G as amended, please raise your voting card. And lower them. All opposed to Resolution G as amended, raise your voting cards, please. And Resolution G has passed. Congratulations. Thank you. And now we are at Resolution H.
Already adopted. On the
Oh, it was already adopted. Oh, yes. Great. All right. Sisters and brothers, we have a full complement of resolutions. Thank you all so much.
Terry?
Yes, on a red card.
Don't forget, Madam President, we have the free weekend and the dinner at Outback Steakhouse to give away.
Yay. Oh, the drawing.
The
Yes.
drawing.
When are we going to do that drawing?
Like now?
All right. Well, yay. All right. Before we get to the drawing, let me just say what a pleasure it has been to serve as your president. Thank you all so much. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Next year, we will be in San Jose, California. Yes. We're going to be staying at, I think it's the DoubleTree. It's not too far from the airport. It's a really great hotel. I don't have all the details, but Ray, do you know what is the year? Well, I mean, what is the date? Is it 6th to the 8th? It's in your conference book, and Doris Rosen says it's from July 6th to 8th, so that's probably good enough. Let's, we'll check in your conference book. It will be up on the website soon. San Jose, California, 2018. We'll see you there. And we have come to the end of our formal program, but please stay. Doris Rosen is we're going to do the drawing. And if you would please tell us what it is people might get.
We have acquired a 2-night stay at this hotel here. And we also have a gift basket from Outback Steakhouse, which includes 2 $50 gift certificates for dinner and 2 bottles of wine. Okay, and also I'm taking a moment, if you would still like to order our wonderful conference t-shirt, please see me after I have the order forms. I'm not taking money, I just need your order. That's the official conference t-shirt. All the money goes to National Now. Florida Now is just doing the accounting. But all the money for the raffle and the t-shirt goes to National Now.
Who's going to draw?
Well, Tony's not here, so...
Tony's here.
Tony's right here.
Thank you very much, Marion. In addition to our staff and all of our interns, Scott Circle Events, a woman-owned firm headquartered in Washington, D.C., was the one who developed the apps that got us through registration with never any lines. I kept coming down looking for lines. There were no lines. So thank you all. And to all of you who pre-registered online, thank you. That is how you make that app work. So really appreciate it. Seeing no further business, I declare the 2017 Forward Feminism Conference adjourned.